pageants to my first love, music. I've been doing this thing since I was 4 years old. Hi, I'm Miss Krystle, also known as the Redhead Attorney. I went to law school because I wanted to learn how to protect myself in my music career. I started my law firm because as a record label owner and attorney today, I know what it takes to be successful in this business. You have to be willing to take control of your career, and you have to be willing to do everything yourself, at least in the beginning. The two main rules I teach in my book for independent artists, as well as my record label online course, are: number 1, you always have to be your own biggest cheerleader, and be willing to take a chance on yourself. And number 2, you have to learn to stay legally protected every step of the way during your career. When you take control of your career, you take control of your future. I'm Miss Krystle, aka the Redhead Attorney, and my law firm helps entertainers and content creators avoid falling off cliffs to their inevitable dooms via bad contracts and snaky business partners. I've always wanted to be a rock star. At age 4, I learned classical piano. At 10, I added cello and also started modeling. At 13, I started writing my own songs. At 16, I started college and also started competing in Miss America pageants to help pay for school tuition. I paid my way through college and with the help of scholarships was able to get out of school loan and debt free. I then became recording artist Miss Krystle and wrote as well as produced my first album, which then led to working with Grammy Award-winning producers, playing huge shows and signing music deals. I always wanted to know how to protect myself legally, so I decided to go to law school. From there, I launched my entertainment law firm and started a record label. In order to share everything I've learned, I wrote a book, rated 5 stars on Amazon, called How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business, and also launched an online course teaching record label owners everything they need to know about running a successful record label. There are 3 rules I attribute my success to. Number 1, be resilient. Regardless of what the world throws at you, always get back up and just keep going. Number 2, embrace your fear. Never let fear hold you back, because if you never take that chance on yourself, it will be the biggest regret of your life. Number 3, be patient. Anything great takes time, and a lot of it. Create a legit career the right way and always stay legally protected. That's all for now, and don't forget to come say hi on social media.
I got a
Hey fam, welcome back to the podcast. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle. I see we have some friends already here on Facebook, on YouTube, and we're also streaming on Redhead Attorney, LinkedIn. So happy to be here. So as we were kind of getting ready for today and we were building the agenda, we're going to cover a lot. We're getting into music business news, updates on cases that we've covered, and then for our segment, helping you with your music businesses, with your careers, we're going to get into some stuff about being a record label. When you have problems come up, you have problem children artists, what do you do? And some of the stuff is going to be really applicable to you if you are an artist, so you can kind of understand the perspective of when we work with record labels, problems that come up, and again, that perspective that we have. But before we get into that, I don't know how many of you follow me on social media. I have the law pages, which is Redhead Attorney or at Redhead Attorney, and then I have my Miss Krystle brand, which is at Miss Krystle Live. But anyway, I kind of revealed that I know a little bit when it comes to nunchucks. So my background in this, and if you've seen some of these videos where I'm kind of doing my ninja thing, not necessarily that well, but I'm doing it. Oh, look, we got some video here ready for you guys. So we went to a park to shoot this because I was practicing in like my little area that happened to have my keyboard at the time. And so as I'm twirling and doing these spins and things like that, I did my ninja move and I hit my keyboard by accident. I think it was like behind me or something. And I broke one of my keys, which is just a nightmare. Totally my fault. I should have seen it coming. I didn't. Oopsies. So anyway, I got banned from practicing in the house. So we went to the park and that's where we got some of this footage. But I'm excited because I got these little nunchucks right here and they're not totally repaired. This is the guy that had to get repaired. And this is like not even fancy nunchucks. These are ones that you get from Amazon. You know what I'm saying? They're like beginners kind of nunchucks. And as I was practicing, one of the rubber encasings flew off. Now, I don't think I actually posted that video. I think I'm going to post it tomorrow, so if you want to follow me on Miss Krystle Live, you can see that. But anyway, so it flew off. My nunchucks are, like, broken, right? I can't work with them. I don't have glue to put it back together. I don't even know how to do that. So, anyway, they are fixed today. Thank you to that Orco. I was just like, hey, figure it out. I don't know, just fix them. Because what ended up happening, and this is probably the good thing about being an attorney, right? I'm always going to be like, hey, get an attorney, have someone to have your back when situations come up. But being my own attorney, I had a nunchuck situation come up. So what situation, you ask? After the nunchucks had broken, I go, okay, I need to upgrade. Now I'm saying I can't be having no beginner nunchucks anymore. I got to upgrade. So I went online and I found a private vendor who was selling like competition nunchucks. They're like silver and lightweight, and so you could just be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, all right, this is kind of a bigger investment for sure, but let's do it. You know, nothing too crazy. It was like $100. I think you can get these on Amazon for like $12. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference there. So anyway, go on, make the purchase, and then it just, like, over the following 2 months, it becomes this all-out war with the vendor, from just ignoring emails, never sending the order, then, you know, filing false claims when I disputed the charge through my credit card company because I'm like, I can't get a response, I never got them, would like my $100 back, and then all of a sudden the vendor pops up, you know, and so then based on just some misrepresentations that were made to my credit card company, now I'm having to like explain myself to the credit card company. They're like, no, we fulfilled it, we sent them to her, I didn't get the nunchucks. Okay, so anyway, this probably like over $100 really isn't worth the amount of time that I've invested into this. But it's just one of those things. It's the principle of the matter. And I am my own attorney, so I don't know how far I want to take this, man. But trust me, you can do some crazy stuff over these kinds of situations. So I don't know. I'll give you guys an update next week. I'll be like, I filed a lawsuit over my $100 nunchucks. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just saying, don't mess with an attorney. Doesn't end well. So, with that all being said, I'll probably post a little video for you guys tomorrow. Maybe we can show you some of those oopsies with the nunchucks, because, hey, it's fun if nothing else. So make sure you follow me on Miss Krystle Live Instagram. All right, so for kind of this little segment, I want to really promote our community here as we're continuing to build and we're meeting more of you who I love. I love seeing that a lot of you now are on the lives every week. It's very, very cool. And it's nice because I get to actually answer your questions, right? So I will answer your questions that you have during the live stream, but we get a lot of comments on the Top Music Attorney YouTube channel throughout the week. And that's because obviously we have a ton of content on this channel. We talk about the copyrights and trademarks and cover songs and sampling and running a record label and basically everything in between. So we do our best to try to keep up with those questions, but there are some that we just don't have time to get to. So I figured in our community segment today, I would actually go through and I picked out a couple of questions. And I noticed that this week in particular, we were getting a lot of questions, a lot of traffic to our cover songs versus sampling video. And I understand that this is a really misunderstood area. People are trying to do cover songs. They don't want to get sued. So we do have a video on this channel dedicated to discussing all of that. We explain what a cover song is, why it's different from sampling, how to get your mechanical license so you don't get sued, aka how to do cover songs on like YouTube legally. All right, so in no particular order, there were some questions on that video, but let's just start with this one. So Johnny was asking, when you register with BMI, do you still need to enroll in CD Baby's royalty collection service? I stumbled across one of your videos. I'm still watching. Thanks for the tips. So Johnny, when it comes to registering on BMI and the difference between CD Baby's royalty collection service, CD Baby and a lot of these other distributors, right? Like TuneCore, Symphonic, what's the other one that I'm forgetting? So all these kind of DIY distributors where you can just upload your music, including CD Baby, they'll offer these other services, right? So they'll say, for example, CD Baby's like, hey, you want us to help register your stuff on like BMI or ASCAP? We can take care of it for you for a fee. Hey, you need your stuff registered on Sound Exchange? We can take care of that. And these are great. And some of them even go a step further. And they'll be on, for example, like YouTube monetization collections. And this is all cool stuff. So, you know, what I would say is that if you don't know how to do some of these things yourself, utilizing CD Baby services is never a bad thing. But, you know, what I say to artists, I'm just like, if you can do it yourself and save $20, $30, whatever it's going to be, save yourself some money and just do it yourself. Okay. So, for example, you know, if CD Baby is collecting your revenue, because remember, guys, if we distribute our music through CD Baby or one of these other distributors, they send your music to all the major music platforms. Those platforms pay your distributor, and then your distributor pays you. So that's not the same thing as collecting public performance revenue, which is what you get when you sign up with BMI or ASCAP. So, you know, what I would say is that if you're not sure how to like do BMI and to register your stuff and whatever, that's cool. Like go through CD Baby and have that company do it for you. It will obviously cost a fee, but I would just say if you can do it yourself, just do it yourself. It does not take very long at all to register your music on BMI. Save yourself some money. All right, moving on. We had a question on the Post Cover Songs Legally video. This is from XCRainX. Do you need licenses for covers that just have an instrumental that you play, or where you're doing any original tracks? Okay, so for that first part, do you need a cover song license if you just have an instrument that you're playing? So if you're using a pre-existing instrumental from someone else's song, that's a sample. Okay, when we say samples, most people understand that to be like, oh, we're just taking a little vocal, a little drum loop, a little guitar riff. That's sampling as well. But even if you're taking the entire instrumental, that's still a sample if it's someone else's song that's already done by them. Now, if you are just doing an instrumental as a cover song, which is possibly kind of where you're going with your question, if you're just doing a cover version as an instrumental, right, and we hear that all the time, like some piano version of a popular, you know, pop song, you basically are just getting that mechanical license. And like I said, just go to that video. It's called Post Cover Songs Legally, You can just search it on YouTube on Top Music Attorney, and it will explain how to get that mechanical license. Very easy, very inexpensive. So if you're just doing an instrumental version, you still got to get the mechanical license, but the point just being it's very quick, easy, and inexpensive. All right. Hello. I see some new friends in the comment sections. I'll go through a couple more and then I'll probably hit a few questions in the actual live comments. All right. And then Kat had a question. What about a cappella songs? Do you still need it? Same thing. If you are just doing now the top line, right? So the a cappella, just the lyrics, just the melody, it's the same thing, right? You know, if you're not just doing like a little piece of it, and we might consider it more of sampling, if you are doing a cover, and maybe you're just doing it, you know, in your bedroom to the camera, you still are technically supposed to get that mechanical license. Did we get that legal disclaimer on this video at the beginning? I didn't see that. So I'll give it to you guys right now. Obviously, anything that I'm talking about during this video, it's not legal advice. I know I'm an attorney, but anything we say here is not intended as anything other than my opinion. There we go. All right, let's do one more from the cover song video, just because I know this was really popular. So this is from Pelly. I love the name, P-E-L-L-Y. Thanks for the information. I went to BMI to get a synchronization license for a song. I found the song and it had 2 to 4 publishers. So let me just stop right there. A synchronization license is different than what I just said. When we do a cover song, we get what's called a mechanical license. It's provided by law. We have to be able to get it. It's very quick. When you get a synchronization license, that's not a cover song, you know, so that you can actually cover it, right? To get clearance. It's a right to sync a song to a visual. Okay, so that visual, an easy example is a music video, right? So if you do a cover song, you'll have to get a synchronization license to then do it to a music video. So this person goes, okay, so I'm trying to get that sync license. I went to BMI because in my video, the post cover songs legally, I'm showing you guys, I'm like, hey, to get the clearance, this is where you go. This is how you do it. So BMI is one of those platforms. And then Pele says, I found there's 2 to 4 publishers. I'm getting confused. Am I supposed to contact all of them for the license? The answer is yes. Sorry, guys. When you try to get a sync license and you're looking into fees, you actually have to go to each publisher that has rights in the songs. Sometimes that's one company or one person. Sometimes it's a whole list of companies that have ownership in the song. And so sometimes it's like maybe they'll have ownership in only a certain territory or they're co-owning. But the answer is you got to reach out to all of them. And you got to say, hey, how much money do you want from me to be able to, you know, put this song in my, whatever, my documentary, my music video. So watch that video to get more of a thorough overview when it comes to cover songs. And you guys, hopefully that will explain a little bit of those questions that need to be cleared up. All right, let's jump into the comments here. Hi. Imagine if you don't pay Miss Krystle legal fees and she pulls out the chucks. Yeah, man, I gotta keep this. What'd you say to me? The one thing I do like about these is that they have that little jiggle. Do some damage with a jiggle. All right, Carlos, I'm having the same issues, but with 2 separate companies. So aggravating. Carlos, I get it. I tried to clear a sample for one of my own records. And, you know, one of the issues that comes up is sometimes the person or the company just doesn't respond. And that sucks. So if you can't even get a response, you don't even know what they want. I mean, you got to obviously make the decision not to include the sample or whatever it is that you're trying to clear because you don't want to get into trouble. And we're going to talk about a literal example of what happens when you don't get something cleared in today's podcast. And we'll talk about what's going on in music business newsland. There's so much copyright problems. Yes, for sure. What do you think is more efficient, ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC? So in the United States, the 3 biggest PRO companies are ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, but really most people are with either ASCAP or BMI. ASCAP or BMI, they're comparable, right? I'm with BMI. I represent a lot of clients who are with ASCAP. I haven't heard any complaints. I did a video where I actually compared BMI and ASCAP. So I actually give you like my full breakdown and analysis if you're kind of trying to decide as a songwriter to register with either BMI or ASCAP, or even as a publisher. And I'm like, here are the fees. This is what you need to be aware of. And I even give you some of the, the scoop, so to speak, the scoop of why maybe someone might not want to go to ASCAP. But the bottom line is that they're comparable. I happen to be with BMI. I've had a good experience with them. So that's what I can share from a personal standpoint. All right, perfect. So feel free to keep dropping your questions. I'll piecemeal them and just bring in some more a little bit later on. But let's kind of go into this next segment. So in this next segment, I wanted to talk about record labels when you have problem artists. And like I said, if you are an artist, if you are a musician, if you're a songwriter, you should still listen to this because it's the perspective of I'm a record label attorney. And so when these problems come up, here's the perspective. Here's kind of what we're dealing with and what actually might affect your career long term. So one of the things that comes up is that, you might have an artist who just simply isn't investing in themselves. And I see this with a lot of younger labels, and the labels will sign unknown artists and artists who don't have any track record. They have no music, they have no fan following. So it might be someone from the record label who finds someone who's just super talented, right? And that record label person really wants to help them and to elevate them and to give them an opportunity. And it's a gamble for a record label, right? So, they're going to sign someone, invest some money, and that amount of money could be anything. It could be a couple $100s. If you have a record label who's just paying for studio time, not even doing anything too crazy. But record labels typically with the first couple of artists, they go ham. They go a little too intense and they start spending money on music videos and live stuff and merch. And, so you might get into an artist, 10,000, 20,000, 70,000. I mean, for a first couple of artists, that is very often the case. But what happens when that artist becomes disinterested for whatever reason? Disheartened. Maybe they get some hate on social media, so they're not posting, or they just, again, aren't really interested in their career because they're like, maybe I don't want to do this. Because look, being an artist, if you're watching this, being an artist is incredibly difficult, especially if you're trying to do it the independent route. Having that posting schedule and that strategy and hustling every single day and finding that motivation, why to even keep trying when you're not getting that forward movement that you're looking for. All that stuff comes up, and I get it from the artist standpoint, but at the end of the day, this is a business. And so I say it all the time to the artists. I'm like, you have to treat this like a real business and a career. This isn't a hobby where you're like, well, I posted a TikTok, last week and nothing happened. It got 100 views and I'm so embarrassed. So I deleted it and I didn't do anything again. You can't have that mentality of just public perception. I care about what other people think. No, you got to just grind until you find that content that hits. And so for whatever the reason is, let's say the artist stops working, so the label has made this huge investment and now I can't get a return on the investment. Because if the label's going to put in and say, we're going to help you, we got the music video, we got an album, we're going to promote it, this and that. If you're not doing your part, the label's not going to be able to get the kind of, buzz and excitement needed around your release. And so now the label just spent all this money and it went out, the music went out to the universe to die. No one heard it, and it might have been great. So I think for a label, what I encourage the label to do is to court the artist ahead of time, right? Take time to actually see the work ethic, take time to actually follow the artist, get to know them on a personal level. But it goes the other way, right? So when I'm representing the artist, take time to get to know the label, because there's all kinds of crap that comes up when the label isn't doing their side of, the work. They're not holding up their end of the bargain. They're not answering your calls. They're not helping with this and that. So either way, it's going to be really, really helpful if both sides have an opportunity just to kind of see, all right, what's this working relationship going to look like? And then another thing that comes up is just like communication, right? This goes both ways. If the record label is trying to, have ongoing communication and then the artist is not being responsive because whatever, we're dealing with someone who's young. And for me, there's no excuse. I don't care if you're watching this and you're 17, if you're 15, if you're 21, if you're 49. I don't care where you're at in your music career. There just seems to be like, for some people, they're like, that's not really me. I'm not really about emails. I'm not really good at answering text messages. Stop coming up with excuses. That's not going to cut it. right? So with the standard is a little bit higher when you say, hey, I want to get signed with a label. I want to have a real career. I want this thing to take off and be my livelihood. You gotta have kind of the professionalism that comes with that, of having an email. Some people are like, what are email? I grew up on social media. I don't even have an email. But if a form of communication is needed, you get that line of communication. Shoot, like as an attorney, I'll tell you guys, I live and die with emails. It's a major form of communication for a lot of attorneys and law firms. But in the same kind of vein, I represent entertainers and musicians and labels. And, sometimes the communication methods aren't email. Sometimes the client needs me to be on WhatsApp, and so I'm having all these legal discussions on WhatsApp. So my point just being, sometimes you need to kind of accommodate a situation, but understand the expectation. If you're an artist, if you are getting updates and, hey, I need your input on this, or what are we going to do with that? Just exercise a little understanding, professionalism, and that good communication. Yeah, and then, the other thing was just back to social media, posting, making sure that you're on it. That's your job. Your job is to promote you and to promote your music and to always be just on people's feed. So they see you, they remember you, and then when you have a release, now you can do something a little more, promotion-y and spammy, and, we all do it with our new music. We'll post like 16 times, go listen to my new song. But, just making sure that you are regularly committing to your social media, right? And then look, even if the record label, let's say, isn't giving you like daily guides of what you should post or examples or anything, take it upon yourself. Don't ever just rely on someone else to do the work for you or to be chasing you around to make you do it. And all this is just going to make you guys way more attractive, quite frankly. Right? Because when we have, let's say, a major label who lands on your profile, you never know when that's going to happen. Okay, so if your goal is to get signed by Universal or Warner, when someone does stumble across your profile because maybe they heard something of yours and like, wow, this kid's really talented. And then they go over to your profile and, you have like 30 comments, you haven't responded to a single one. You post every 2 weeks. You post once a month. All of that is not going to play in your favor. If someone sees that you are really hustling and working, then that's going to play really well in your favor towards future opportunities as well. All right, and then on the last one, let's just talk about with breaches of contract. Okay, so, on this channel, we discuss so much on the importance of the contracts. Everyone needs to have them. If you're a record label, have your record label agreement. Have your agreements with your team. Have your agreements with your investors. Everyone that you do deals with. Everything needs to be in assigned writing. Same with the artist. Make sure you have that agreement with the record label so that it, structures the relationship, clarifies the relationship, and gives us something to point to in case there's a problem. So let's pretend there's a problem. You as the artist, you've breached the contract, and one of the big things that comes up is when the artist doesn't deliver the amount of music that they committed to. So case in point, if you signed with a record label and you did an album deal and there are what's called options, right? So the record label can later say, hey, everything went great. I want to do more albums with you. Cool. But at a minimum, you had said, okay, I'll at least deliver an album. It'll have at least 10 songs on it and I'll do it before a year, something like that. Well, if you don't deliver on the music, then you're in breach of contract and that puts you in a vulnerable position. And now the record label's like, okay, well, here we are. I invested this money. We probably did some singles at this point. Maybe they had even pushed out an EP. We've had that happen because there wasn't enough songs to make it an album. But the point just being, you're tied up in that contract. So, if the record label wants to just kind of be like, all right, well, if you're not going to deliver the album, then I'm just not going to do anything. What happens is that in these agreements, the record label doesn't have to do anything because the contract period only starts when you deliver that album. And that's the kicker. That's where even as the artist, the tip should just be, make sure you know these timelines, right? So if you just say, I really don't want to deliver the album, whatever, I'm going to explore some other opportunity, what's going to happen is that you're going to be stuck in this contract now forever. Because again, the time for it to start and end starts when you as the artist deliver the music to the record label. So it's a pretty big sledgehammer that the label holds over you Because, like I said, the label might just kind of get pissed off with you and be like, all right, well, we're just not going to do anything then. You're stuck in this contract. We're going to shelve you. And that's not a good situation for anybody. Okay. And same thing with the label, right? Make sure as the record label that you are calendaring and keeping track of kind of what's happening, because if you get in and there was like a 10-song commitment and you get in 6 songs, 7 songs, you're not quite there yet, and the artist still hasn't delivered, you kind of need to forecast and be like, all right, is this relationship working out? Because sometimes a record label will not cut its ties too soon, right? It'll cut them too late. So it'll be like, we're having all these problems. This artist doesn't want to do the work. They don't want to deliver even on the first album, but we're into this artist $20,000. So we got to keep going. We got to make them deliver the album. I'm just like, okay, why? Are you going to put $10,000 into the marketing? Are you going to exercise your options? Do you even want to work with this artist? So, this comes back to know who it is that you're doing the deal with, who you're investing in. And so there's a lot of things to think about, whether you're the record label or whether you're the artist. All right, guys. So that's what I wanted to just kind of touch on when it comes to the record label, problem children artists. And I wanted to point out, so I've been referencing in our live streams how to keep your dukes up in the music business. This one is geared for artists. Okay, so I talk about being an independent artist, how to stay legally protected, how to do it. I've been a musician since I was 4 years old, so I share a lot of my experience. But I wanted to at least note earlier, we were talking all about covers and sampling. So in this chapter, licensing, publishing, and royalties, I talk about that mechanical license. I talk about the synchronization license. So I wanted to make sure to reference that before we move on, because now we're going to get into what's happening in music business news. All right, so I think we're going to bring in that Orco.
Hello.
Hello. So you
Microphone check 1 2 1 2.
You're fixing my nunchucks, huh?
Yes, I was looking all over the house for glue. It's something that we don't usually have is glue, or I don't ever use glue. I mean, I think that I even have it just so when my strap in my guitar pulls out, I can put little toothpicks and glue them in so I can kind of fix my strap locks. But that's
Right.
why I have the glue, and I so I didn't realize I had it. But then hopefully they don't break again.
Yeah, it worked out. I'm excited. It's been a couple of weeks because I didn't have any nunchucks that weren't broken. I'm all warring it out, with this vendor, with the other nunchucks that didn't come through. So it's been a traumatic time for me.
I got to tell you, I think it's so cool when you can just when you do all the legal stuff in your own personal life and you just take care of business, like you've taken care of stuff for me before, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have that power.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have a law license, but I'll tell you guys this. Before I went to law school, before I became an attorney, that whole period, I still was I was always a business owner. I always ran my stuff like a boss. That's just a mentality thing. Now, I went to law school because I wanted to know how to really do this stuff legally, legit. But at the end of the day, you don't have to be an attorney to be like, no, this is how I run stuff. I'm not going to be taken advantage of. I don't care if we're going to war over $100, So that's more of just
it's not like you're paying yourself legal fees. So
yeah, right. I'll tell you what, though, sometimes attorneys have to hire other attorneys just because you don't even want to handle your own matters. So we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Shout out to everyone in the comments. What's going on?
Yeah.
So we got a couple things. We have an update on. Let's see how this pulls up all nice. The Cardi B situation. We covered this a little bit ago. Kevin Brophy is suing Cardi B because over this mixtape cover and his back art.
Right, and then just as a little recap from that video, you guys can watch it on this channel. But specifically, he's suing because he goes, "I didn't say I could be on this cover. I didn't say I could be represented this way. I'm a family man. I got kids. I'm humiliated at what this is allegedly or what's happening in this picture." So that's the basis of the lawsuit. And he's suing her for $5 million.
Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so She claimed that she needed to take a little she had to postpone the trial and stuff because she had a baby. And then, Kevin Brophy came back and was just like, she's just stalling. She should be held under sanctions because she was at Fashion Week in Paris. So I got this article from Rolling Stones and it reads Cardi B. We have an update because there was a decision kind of made on this. Cardi B did not mislead court about Paris Fashion Week trip, judge rules. Kevin Brophy, who is suing the rapper over the use of his likeness on a mixtape cover, called out Cardi for not going to France for going to France after she told the court she needed to avoid risky travel. A federal judge has sided with Cardi B after the tattooed man suing her for $5 million in California asks that she be punished for her recent trip to Paris Fashion Week. U.S. District Judge Cormac Carney says that in a new ruling obtained by Rolling Stone that the WAP rapper will not face any sanctions and can keep her February trial date because she did not say anything misleading when she asked for the trial delay, citing the September 4th birth of her son. The
Yeah.
judge writes that he. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so he, in the prior article, before this update came out, he was specifically seeking about $8,000, a little more than $8,000 in sanctions. And that word sanctions means it's like court, smack her on the hand for this bad act. And again, what he's saying is she lied, right? So she submitted this thing and said, hey, we got to push the trial date. I think it was from October and to push it to February because she's like, I just had my baby in September. I can't be, feeding and taking care of I think her other 3-year-old. It's just too much. And the court said, okay, that's fine. And pushed the trial date to February. And so now he goes, well, right after we had this decision, here she is going to Fashion Week. So she can go to Fashion Week for a week. Seems like she can be okay, traveling. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's actually I was actually kind of surprised with what the judge said, but just because, yeah, I mean, if you can go do all this stuff, I mean, I don't know, it obviously felt like a stall tactic anyway, but she did have a kid.
And I'll come to Cardi's defense because I thought there are key distinctions. Okay, so she basically paints the picture. So she goes, okay, I get it, right? But it's different here because for me to go to Fashion Week, I think she had her kids in New York. She goes, we have the not a babysitter or a nanny, I forget the word, but a caretaker for the infant, and then also I think it was grandma. They had a family member who's there. They go, it's totally different for me to go for a week to Fashion Week as a working woman. And she brought up like almost the sex discrimination thing. Like if I was a man, would this be any different? Which I thought was interesting because we're saying as a mom, are you okay to go, right? So she goes, as a working woman, this was an opportunity that didn't come up until after I had requested that we push the trial. And she goes, because of what it was, she goes, I am being brought in with the VIPs, the biggest influencers in the industry when it comes to fashion, because we didn't even know about this. And what it was, I've had no live shows for 2 years. This was so huge and important for my career. I had to make it happen.
So I mean, there definitely is, I kind of do see a little bit of her point as far as that goes. It is a temporary thing. She's got to work. It is very important, but you know, stalling a lawsuit. I mean, it doesn't. There's no. It's no wonder Kevin Brophy was just like, come on, man. Like like he's been trying to get this thing off for years now. So I don't know. It seems silly, especially because she's just like, oh, it's like Cardi B's attorneys are just kind of like, the whole thing is just ridiculous anyway. Like, how is he being damaged from this, and whatever. But I don't know. Pretty interesting.
Well,
update for that.
I'll tell you one way, and here's the thing. When you have to file something with the court, and so for example, when he's filing and he goes, hey, court, you need to sanction her. She lied under oath. That whole process of him getting his attorneys to file that, and then for her attorneys to respond, and then he probably had the opportunity to reply, that legal process probably cost them both with their attorney's fees like $8,000. That's probably why he was probably, asking for that amount. But it's expensive just to have that one little issue presented to the court and decided. And then the other thing, again, I'm playing devil's advocate because, why not? But in Cardi's defense, going to Fashion Week for a week. She goes, it's totally different because a trial is 3 weeks.
Right.
She goes, I'm not able just to stop morning, lunch, and evening, check in with my kids, get on the phone. I'm being, briefed by the attorney, prepared for hardcore questioning. I'm around all these people that I can't even get, the COVID vaccinations. So, obviously the court sided with her and agreed.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it is a fine line, because I'm trying to see how this looks. It doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to. It is a fine line, because I mean, where does it kind of stop? Is it a point where, if I murder somebody, I'm in a murder trial or something like that, I want to pause it because I get pregnant, or just, whatever. Can I use that as, oh, well, I was feeling, I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems like the law doesn't stop and your obligations don't stop because you chose to have a child.
Yeah, no, and look, I love that we're kind of falling a little bit on either sides of this, because
I get it though, but I do get it. I do get it.
As a litigation attorney, I can tell you that trial's hardcore, even if it's a 1-day trial, which this is not. This is going to be a 3-week process of her having to be in California, not being able to see the kids and to take care of them. Very high stress. I mean, they really are different situations. So, look, I get it.
I see Rich House Reviews in the house, the realest review show on the net, talking about cancel her. He's got to be kidding, because there's no way. This is not a cancel level event. Not that she won't find herself in these situations with everyone getting canceled, but it's definitely not a cancel level event. I can't imagine on any.
I don't think so.
I can't imagine anybody will care either way, except for Mr. Kevin there. So
yeah, but look, guys, all kinds of stuff happens during litigation. Look, there's stuff that will come up, and someone will be like, this person was stalking me, or I got all of these emails, or they started to publish all this stuff on social media defaming me. A lot of these things come up. So besides us even getting to the actual merits of the case to be like, hey, let's decide this thing, we're having all of these motions and responses and testimony having to do with all these little side issues. And that's why litigation gets so expensive, because we still have to brief all that stuff. We still got to argue all that stuff to the court, and then someone wins and someone loses, and then you keep going with the case.
Joel saying in the comments, Cardi should just cut Mr. Tattoo a check. I agree. I don't even understand why it's gotten to this far. I'm sure this probably could have been settled.
He wants $5 million. Was she just going to cut a little $5 million check? Is that what you're saying?
No, not a $5 million check. But I mean, I think that maybe something probably could have been worked out beforehand or something. Or I don't know. $5 million is a lot, and I can't imagine that'll be the payout for it. But we'll see, because it's going. I mean, it's continuing. It's continuing. We'll see if it's postponed. So I mean, we'll see when it resumes up, and what other things will happen. So moving on from that, let's talk about a cool case with Lisa Rinna, star of television, of the housewife shows, and one of my favorite shows of all time, Melrose Place. She's finding herself and Instagram kind of situation. We kind of covered something similar with Emily Ratajkowski a couple of weeks ago. Dealing with the reposting pictures that a paparazzi will take
pictures
on your Instagram without permission. And this is a practice that a lot of people do on Instagram. Maybe not necessarily, from paparazzi pictures, but, people are posting pictures that other people are taking, or when they're dealing with photographers, or just, reposting. And so this is a situation that's coming from a lawsuit.
Yeah. So
Lisa...
go ahead.
No, go
Sorry.
ahead. No, you.
Well, I was just going to kick us off by recapping. So when we covered Emily's situation, same thing. You see a cute picture of yourself that the paparazzi took, you repost it real quick. And in Emily's case, it was her story, right? She didn't even actually post it to her feed. Lisa, on the other hand, did. And she did, I believe, 8 pictures. So what we had covered on the last video was, under copyright law, if you willfully, right, so you intentionally take someone's copyright, right, so you take their picture, you republish it without their permission, that's automatic copyright infringement. If you did not have permission, and because it's willful, you can get up to $150,000 per infringement. So in this case, if we're talking about 8 pictures, 8 times $150,000, that's how we get to that 1.2 mil. All right, good.
So Lisa Rinna speaks out about her $1.2 million lawsuit for posting paparazzi photos of herself and her daughters, Delilah and Amelia. Lisa Rinna is being sued for her Instagram activity. No, it's not because of the dancing videos. I'll throw a little shade on her for her dancing videos. I'll go skip past that. The mess all started back in June when Backgrid, a celebrity photo agency, filed a copyright infringement lawsuit based on 8 watermarked paparazzi pictures Rinna posted on Instagram. Court documents published by LA Times claim that Rinna violated federal law by willfully infringing Backgrid's copyrights to at least 8 photographs. The pictures were run-of-the-mill paparazzi snapshots of Rinna and her daughters. Backgrid claims that she hurt her chances of selling the photos by sharing them on her Instagram feed. After all, she does have 3 million followers. Therefore, they are suing her for a whopping 1.2 million in damages.
Yeah, so they're saying
that's where it gets complicated. You know,
Yeah.
that's where you're kind of like, I get it.
Right, because they're alleging, and guys, this is kind of two different things. They're alleging there was basically dilution of value. Like, for example, you buy a car, you get a wedding ring, you get whatever. As soon as you walk out of the store, as soon as you drive off the lot, your purchase is devalued. So in the same kind of way, they're like, they publish the pictures. Why would we try it? You know, why would we be able to sell them and get that value? But again, the higher chunk of change and the other side of this is that they are called statutory damages. It doesn't matter if we can prove the lost value was $50,000 or something. Copyright law sets forth if you did it willfully, then the claimant can get up to $150,000 per infringement. Now, you know, you're going to keep going through the article and it's going to talk about how this company, has done this. And this is part of her argument. She goes, well, number one, these pictures aren't worth 1.2 million, right? So she's like, we're wearing masks. My kids are in masks. Like, I don't even understand this. And for me, that just tells me that there's a misunderstanding about the fact that this is statutory. It's like, if you're speeding, it doesn't matter if you didn't mean to, you're still getting that ticket. So, that's also, one.
And yeah, I mean, it just from just the clear cut, just point of it, sure. But then also that also shows that she just doesn't even understand the business. It's not for the person to decide what their paparazzi photos are worth. It's what the magazine will pay for whatever. Lisa Rinna is a very controversial figure. She's, very outspoken. And so, these things could be worth money. It's not for her to decide what the price would have been on it.
Well, and obviously this issue hasn't come up because it sounds to me like any of her attorneys that have ever represented her in the many decades of her very successful career in the entertainment business, it sounds like no one's ever explained this to her because she goes, look, I've always had this super friendly relationship with the paparazzi. We've always been respectful. They jump out of bushes and scare me half to death, but like we're friendly. We let them take pictures. She sounds like a nice lady. But it sounds like she still didn't understand this whole simple thing of when you post something that you don't own and the potential liability that carries with that. Because then she goes, well, a part of kind of my argument that this seems sort of sleazy is that this particular person or company, they've filed, I think it's 50 lawsuits. And 3/4 of those were during COVID, all, for the same thing. So she goes, it just seems like this is ambulance chaser kind of activity. And quite frankly, I have conversations with my clients where I go, hey, understand that there are people and companies out there that are just waiting. They're just waiting for you to make that mistake. And if they know you have money, you're going to get slapped with a lawsuit because at the minimum, then you're going to settle. You won't go to the end because if it's a statutory thing and you broke the law, you're going to have to pay out the nose. So it's, trust me.
And the thing of it is, this stuff is, and all these lawsuits, especially, with Emily Ratajkowski, this Lisa Rinna, it's setting precedent. It's opening up the doors where you're going to see a lot more of this happening because it is, especially if these cases just keep coming out, or come out like victorious, for these paparazzi, and whether or not you agree or think, paparazzi is, sleazy or it's just whatever, that has nothing to do with how the world works or the fact that they are here and it is their business and they do have the rights to do whatever they're doing. And so for any of my artists, entertainers, music business owners, just be very careful with what you share and what you reshare. And if you don't own it,
and you haven't talked to an attorney, like for example, there are exceptions. You can share some stuff. It just depends on whether there's an exception, but the general rule, just don't. If you don't have the right, if you don't own it, and don't expose yourself, because this is a bad day.
But I just see just Lisa just being more vocal and just like, what's the big deal? Because she's a wild card. She's a wild gal. You know what I mean? Like some of my I listen a lot of Howard Stern, and if you ever get the old like Lisa Rinna interviews when she's on there, like she's wild. She's she's a party, but she's definitely entertaining. So we'll see how this goes. I wish her luck, but then you know what I mean. Like I said, I have a soft spot anyway. So we can move on to another really quick thing, just something that got kind of thrown out or whatever on the Weeknd. What do you think of this view? Do you like this view?
I like it. I wouldn't mind you kind of zooming in and out the way you like to do it, but this is cool.
Just playing around. We're having a good time. We're keeping it loose.
Let the people see what we're needing to see. It's gonna look real small on a clip later.
Oh, right. So what do you want? You want some of that action again?
There you go. Yeah.
All right, so we got The Weeknd. The Weeknd escapes copyright lawsuit over A Lonely Night at the Ninth Circuit. R&B superstar The Weeknd's song A Lonely Night didn't rip off an unreleased song called I Need Love. A federal appeals court has ruled. British songwriters Brian Clover and Scott McCloud failed to show that The Weeknd or his songwriters had access to the song or that A Lonely Night was similar enough to support their copyright infringement claims. A three-judge panel for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals wrote in an unsigned Friday opinion. So that looks like just one of those things where we're talking about these cases that you have to, really have all your ducks in a row and have proof when you're bringing it to the forefront.
Yeah, and look, guys, when it comes to kind of what that proof is, there's a couple different stages in a copyright lawsuit where you have an opportunity to potentially even win your case before you even get to trial. And so what happens often is that you file a complaint, someone's going to answer. Let's say we get to the next stage, which is what's called discovery. Everyone has to present all their evidence to each other. So you disclose and say, hey, this is everything I got. And the other side goes, hey, this is everything that I got. And then usually at that point, you have an opportunity to file what's called a motion for summary judgment or a motion for partial summary judgment. But basically, it's a fancy way of saying we can ask the court, based on all this evidence that we just got, to make a decision, either to conclude the entire case or maybe just one portion of the case. And sometimes you win on that, and so you can kind of cut the bleeding, so to speak, and so you get the case resolved at that point. And so it sounds like, that may have been what happened here. And so the judge just said, maybe they filed a motion for summary judgment. I looked at the evidence, not enough. I'm throwing out the case.
And then the Ninth Circuit also said that the songwriter's argument was undercut by evidence that both songs were influenced by Blondie's 1979 hit Heart of Glass. So that was an interesting little extra little tag onto that. But that's what we got today. Real easy breezy today in the music news sections. We'll have more for you next week.
Yeah, we got some interesting stuff happening for sure when it comes to copyright claims and did you steal my music? Did you sample my stuff without
There's a lot of that
cleared.
Yeah, there's more stuff going on that I'm sure we'll cover with The Weeknd. He's involved in a couple of these kind of cases right now. So we'll definitely elaborate on some more in the future.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can come to Brazil, but I should definitely run for president. Thank you for that very good recommendation. I'm going to start working on some campaign slogans.
Very good.
Nunchuck. All the way to the top.
Yeah, no, I can't wait till you're getting more back in it. But yeah, no, she did get banned from doing it in the house when she was knocking stuff off in her office, and she broke a key on her keyboard.
It's so sad. Every time I go,
I heard a big noise. I ran out.
Every time I go to play my keyboard now, it's very sad. It's very sad. I need to figure out how to fix it. I don't think I can fix it. This is a keyboard that I've literally had for like 2 decades, and it's still doing the thing. And then I go in and get a little too
I just don't know why you didn't think that was gonna happen.
Well, and then you came
into the studio, and then you were in here, and I remember I was editing something, or I don't know, we were practicing or going over vocal tapes. I don't know. I don't remember what we were doing. But then I felt the breeze and I heard you swinging your chain back behind me. And I remember turning around and go, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? Are you doing your nunchucks in here?"
Look, when it comes to like any place that I've ever lived, every room, every space is taken up by something creative, some video equipment,
For sure.
some painting stuff. So that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Everything is functional.
Yeah, and it's a Roland keyboard. Old school. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you come say hi, at least for me, on Miss Krystle. I'm going to post one of those nunchuck videos tomorrow. You can see what happens. If you want to follow That Orco, it's just That Orco on Instagram and Facebook. We appreciate you guys, being here. It's fun. Leave your questions. If you missed this live stream, you can definitely drop a question down below, and then I'll potentially answer it on next week's live stream. We're here every Thursday. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, do it. Turn on those bell notifications so you know when we go live. And I'm going to get out of here. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.